What's up, everybody? You are now tuning into From the East Side with Love. As always, it's your boy Kosher, and today, we have the biggest fight, basically of the century right now. Biggest fight to date. It's fight week, people. If you don't know what I'm talking about Canelo versus Crawford. I mean, we've been wishing for a fight like this since Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. And a lot of people felt like they felt robbed because they felt like either Pacquiao or Floyd was over the hill or both was over the hill. And so now we have two fighters arguably in their prime, arguably still on top. And I mean, pound for pound, like, this is what you want. So without further ado, I'm gonna basically talk about my predictions for the fight, what what's going on, like what other people are saying, and I'm gonna show you some highlights of both fighters. I won't tell you who I have until the end, but we'll get into it. So without further ado, let's talk about the tail of the tape. Uh, see, Canelo's 34, Crawford is 37. Height, I think Canelo's 5'9". But okay, 5'7". Height. Terrence does look a little bit taller, so 5'8". So okay, 168 weight, 154. But what we do know is both Crawford and Canelo will actually be at 168. So that means obviously Crawford is going up 2 weight classes. Reach. This right there is, I am really looking into that. That reach. 70-inch reach, 74-inch reach, and 62 wins, 2 losses, two ties, 2 losses versus 41-0. Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Bud Crawford. I am so excited for this fight, dude. So excited that I'm actually going to be there. I will be in Vegas. Press conference all the way up to the fight. Got tickets to the fight. So if y'all want anything, let me know. I'll be there. Hopefully get some interviews and provide some cool footage of the festivities out in Vegas. So yeah, this is the tails of the tape so far. Let's get into this. So okay, so this one said 34, 37. Okay, 30, 65 fights, 40 fights. So um he's 41-0. 61 wins, 40 wins, 41 wins, 2 losses, 39 KOs for Canelo. Um, this is, yeah, 39 KOs, 31, or excuse me, knockouts. Yeah, 31 knockouts. So 5'7.5" to 5'8". 4 division world titles won for Canelo versus 3. Undisputed champ once for Canelo, twice. Now, this is another thing. Crawford is also going for a third weight class to be undisputed in. Unheard of. No other fighter in history has done that. So that would instantly give him something, again, no other fighter has done. From whoever you could think of, the Muhammad Ali's, the Mike Tysons, the Floyd Mayweathers, the Marvin Haglers, I mean, Sugar Ray Leonards, you name it. If Terrence Crawford wins, he would have 3-time undisputed champion in 3 different weight classes. Amazing. That that was fathomable. Like that, for him to do that that's very important. That's solidifies him. Like literally solidifies him. 2 division lineal champ, 3 division champ for Crawford, 2 for Canelo. Canelo has the edge on the world title fights, 25 world title fights. Crawford has 18. Also, Canelo has obviously more fights. Now, one would say that when Canelo fought Floyd, he was still young, but he had a lot of fights, okay? I think he had damn near 50 when he fought Floyd. Now, were they the same caliber? No. But obviously the Canelo that fought Floyd and post that, now dude's been in front of the cameras, obviously speaking English, wasn't speaking English before, speaks English pretty well, very confident, been under the bright lights, has been the pound for pound best fighter in the world multiple times. Um, Arguably the number one star in boxing. You can argue there's Tank. Crawford wins. You can argue it could be him. Has lost against Bivol, but Bivol, was the heavier dude. He was going up in weight for that. But 168, I mean, Canelo has made his claim, staked his claim, and is that dude. The biggest, at least top two, top three biggest name in boxing, if not top one. Has taken over the Cinco de Mayo, Mexican Independence Day weeks that Floyd kind of started. So in Vegas or just fighting around those times. And, a legendary career. Now you have Terrence Crawford, who was with Top Rank and couldn't get any of the fights. He got to fight, people like Sean Porter, Horn, but it's not really until maybe the Porter fight and then really the Spence fight when he did like a one-time deal with PBC or whatever, one fight deal or whatever, where you kind of finally see Crawford in main light, big publicity type fight. Now Errol Spence, versus Crawford, people really, now they've had a beef brewing, but I would say, okay, a little asterisk, that this is post accident Errol Spence. So people do say that, Spence got a lot of, and he hasn't fought since he fought Crawford. That was like his first fight. He got into a brutal accident and he wasn't the same afterwards. But still, Crawford is a better boxer, better technician than Spence was, and Spence is. People arguably say that Crawford is actually the best boxer in today's generation. Like, he really is about that sweet science. He's really about what he does. And the other person would have been Floyd. So, it very well could have been Crawford winning that Spence fight. Maybe not as one-sided and as devastating as he did win, but definitely could have won that fight. Now, I was waiting for Spence, but, it is what it is. Crawford definitely made me a believer. Not that I wasn't, but he definitely made me a believer, and I see it. The footwork is immaculate. IQ is immaculate. And he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. Now, he was coming up from 147. He fought at 154 once. Now he's going 168. Taking on the biggest challenge in Canelo, biggest name out there in boxing again. Let's look at their fight week face-off. First face-off of fight week. Let's look at it right here in Vegas in front of the Bellagio fountains. Dana White, His Excellency Turkey. Oh, it's on the fountains. That's cool. That's cool. Now I want to show you guys some highlights about what Terrence Crawford can do. This is his last fight against Israel. Oh, this is against Israel Madrimov.
Tapping on Israel's guard and threw a straight left, not to land, but to knock Israel's hand out the way to create the opening to land his lead uppercut. Crawford did the same by knocking Madrimov's right hand out the way to land another lead uppercut, then threw a straight left while maintaining an outside foot position that allowed him to land while making Israel miss at the same time. Subscribe for more. Terrence Crawford outskilled Israel Madrimov. Crawford was tapping on Israel's guard and threw a straight left, not to land, but to knock Israel's hand out the way to create the opening to land his lead uppercut. Crawford did the same by knocking Madrimov's right hand out the way to land another lead uppercut, then threw a straight left while maintaining an outside foot position that allowed him to land while making Israel miss at the same time. Subscribe for more.
So let me say something. This is at 154. You don't do these things if you don't have power to be able to make the other fighter not react. This is, again, that was Crawford's first fight, and they look pretty big. They both look hefty, and he was able to use his skill and use his power. And look, does Crawford have knockout power? Yes. Will that power translate to the heavier weight class? Maybe, maybe not. But the one thing about Floyd was, yes, he could knock out people, but when he got to the heavier weights and he got a little bit older, his hands, he did have issues with his hands. He's also good fighting Mike Tyson. I know that's a little controversial. We'll talk about that in a future episode eventually. But in an exhibition match. But the one thing about Floyd is he was mad accurate, and he had stinging power. And the reason why was because he was mad accurate. He knew where he wanted those punches to land and flush shots. So, Crawford may not be able to carry that knockout power, but he's going to have stinging power because he's accurate and he's going to hit flush shots. Canelo, again, will have that, and we're going to talk about Canelo. Okay, we're going to talk about Canelo. But right now we're just going to go over Crawford's highlight and just talk about the technician that Crawford is. Crawford can fight from both stances, orthodox or unorthodox. And so him being able to go southpaw, he's gonna be able to, again, use the footwork to find advantageous positions to not only slip Canelo's punches, listen to me, not only slip Canelo punches, but get his offense off. And again, if we're going to go back to Floyd, look, Crawford even said you can't go back to Floyd's fight with Canelo because that was so long ago. But the reason why I want to go back to Floyd is because that was the last time we seen, for the most part, somebody smaller. And again, Crawford is not going to necessarily be smaller than Canelo because they both probably walk around 180 plus. They're both cutting down to 168. It's just that Crawford doesn't necessarily fight. And he doesn't fight at 168. Canelo does. They probably both walk around 180, 190, maybe 200 for Canelo. He's cutting down weight. Crawford's cutting down weight as well. So these guys aren't... It's just about being able to carry that weight for the fight. You know what I'm saying? They're both cutting. So Crawford is used to having his weight on, and now it's just muscle. Now he doesn't have to cut as much, So it's I think that's a big perception that we need to talk about as well, or it needs to be spoken on, because it's not necessarily Crawford going up in weight, just him that's more so cutting less, and how will he look cutting less. Um, but yes, I think with Crawford being a technician, being again one of the best boxers of this generation, he's going to be able to use his different stances, the southpaw or the orthodox, whatever he needs to be effective to get his offense off. Slip punches, create different angles, and be able to. He may not be able to knock out Canelo, but he will keep Canelo off of him, or he can keep Canelo off of with just his footwork and the way he knows to be a technician. I have another highlight we can bring up, which is again the fight that put him on the map, him versus Spence. Um, we'll just watch some of the highlights here and see the man at work.
That favors Spence. Back comes Crawford with the jab. Down goes Spence. How quickly that changes. 5, 6, 7. And now Spence trying to whack Crawford. Going to the body. Here we go. It's what we thought. They are going to start to go toe-to-toe. And there's a big left by Crawford. Backing up Spence. And digging to the body. Spence is hurt. Spence is hurt. So Floyd might be able to tell us he's stumbling and he hasn't been hit. And that's up after this fight.
Omaha right there, guys. So now look there. Look. Clearly, Crawford did not respect Spence's power, because some of the exchanges Spence did land clean. That cannot happen for Crawford versus Canelo. Canelo will test that chin. Crawford showed that he had a chin, but I know Spence's power is not Canelo's power. So that right there could be issues getting hit with some of the shots that Crawford did right there. Now, Crawford may have felt, again, I got it under control. It is what it is. And I do think Canelo will test his power early. I do think Canelo will try to trade shots. This is where Crawford needs to be smart. So let's check out what Canelo does.
This is the perfect boxing punch. Canelo puts up a high guard and parries the jab that Kovalev throws. Now Canelo explodes. This is the perfect boxing punch. Canelo puts up a high guard and parries the jab that Kovalev throws. Now Canelo explodes and pretends he's going for a liver shot that makes Kovalev duck slightly to protect his body, but Canelo goes high and lands the hook right on the ear, messing up Kovalev's equilibrium. And once he drops his hands, Canelo lands a right hand that knocks him out. This is the...
We all know Canelo's favorite punch is the left hook. Crawford cannot fall for that left hook.
This is how Canelo dropped Berlanga. Berlanga has a bad tendency to reach out to shots, leaving him unprotected for a left hook. Canelo knew this, so he set him up by landing multiple hard jabs in a row. And now that Berlanga was conditioned to the jabs, Canelo feinted, then went around the parry with a left hook that landed and dropped Edgar Berlanga. This is how
So, what does that mean? That means that Canelo's going to be looking to land that home run of a left hook. Feint to the body. Shots to the body to land up top. Canelo has no problem going to the body as well. This is what I find interesting about Canelo. He was a counterpuncher that has learned to be aggressive. He rather hit you after, or try to hit you after you try to hit him. So he doesn't necessarily care about initiating the confrontation or the offense, because he feels like you'll leave yourself open to get, once you throw a punch, what you do. And that's where he thinks he can time it. But he's gotten way better at being a bully, being able to cut off a ring, being able to go forward, being able to impose his will. His last fight, that wasn't so much. Obviously, they say like a Tom and Jerry running around, blah blah blah, skull fight, cool. Um, but Canelo learned quickly that he can be mobile and he can initiate, and he does that. So once he starts figuring out that he can hurt or start making Crawford move the way he wants him to move, that could be an early night for Crawford. If Crawford is trying to duck low, Canelo feints low, then goes high, oh no. Oh no. You know? I think that Crawford has to be ready for that. But Canelo's no slouch. He's going to hit his arms. He's going to attack the body. And Canelo knows that he's in there with somebody that can box. He doesn't have to worry about being somebody that's going to brawl with him. He doesn't have to worry about even his KO power. He just has to worry about not being outboxed. And how do you not be outboxed? You got to be the aggressor strategically. You got to impose your will strategically. And you just got to be able to hold your own. And what I mean by that is, if Canelo's doing the right things, which usually he's been doing, staying in the middle of the ring, throwing out his jabs, keeping Canelo or keeping Crawford on the end of his punches, Canelo's got this in the bag. But if Canelo can't and this is now we're going to start going into my prediction, and here's my take. If Crawford is able to not get hit and use his footwork to stay out of trouble, some clinches here and there, frustrate Canelo because it's not necessarily him running, but him not being able to hit him. This is where it becomes advantageous for Crawford. You can throw a punch, but you're not landing, right? So there's activity, but no success, right? There's no, what's it mean? So what I will say is I think it's going to start off slow for Crawford. I don't think Crawford really starts cooking until maybe the fourth round, fourth round. I think Canelo, first round is going to be a trying out round for both fighters. They both kind of start off slow anyway. I think Canelo is going to try to impose his will early because it benefits Canelo. It benefits Canelo to start hitting on those arms, getting Crawford to feel that power early when he's fresh and everything is good, and start trying to dictate the way he wants the fight to go. And I think Crawford will be cool with that. I think Crawford will want to taste that power early and wants to trying to diagnose, trying to figure out what Canelo is trying to do. Again, think second round Canelo imposes his will. Third round probably more of the same. Canelo feels good, got some shots in. Crawford, okay, I think I got it now. I 2 rounds, I felt some good Canelo shots. I feel what Canelo's been trying to do. Let me see if I can start making now. Let me see if I can manipulate some things. Let me see if I can work on my offense. So I think 4th and 5th round, you're going to see more of an offensive Crawford with a Canelo who will now, I don't want to say hesitate, but I want to say is going to start now trying to diagnose Crawford. Okay, see what Crawford can do. What's he trying to set up, which will make for a competitive 6 and up. Okay, now I've heard a lot of people say, you know, if Canelo wins, it's gonna because he's gonna use his weight, power. Could be early night for Crawford. I think Canelo wins if it's 7 or under. If it's 8 and above, I think Crawford figures it out and boxing will win. I don't think power will win. I think boxing will win. So whoever has the better boxing from 8 to 12 will win the fight, which I do think Crawford is. Canelo is a good boxer. I'm not saying he's not. Crawford is the better boxer who I think will outlast. And I think that Canelo will slow down a little bit and he won't hurt Crawford enough to not stop Crawford from being able to execute his game plan. So I look for round 8 or 9 to be probably Canelo's worst rounds in that fight. Crawford's best rounds in that fight. And then 10, 11, and 12, I think will be a grueling chess match after that as well, if it goes that far. So I think if Canelo doesn't stop him by the 7th round, 8 and 9 are Crawford's money rounds. 10, 11, and 12, I think is just going to be a dogfight because I don't see Canelo going out easy, but I don't see Crawford going. If they made it that far, they're gonna thug it out. Like they're gonna go. So, but with that being said, Crawford knows and Canelo know what to do to win. But I still think boxing wins. So that, therefore, if it goes to the cards, Crawford wins. I've heard somebody say, a very, prolific fighter, Hall of Fame fighter, Crawford knocks out Canelo in the, I think, 8th or 9th round. I've heard other fighters, like Mike Tyson, doesn't think that Crawford can do it. I've heard several fighters say, there's weight classes for a reason. The thing is, and that's 100% true. The thing is, you're dealing, and again, Canelo is a great fighter. You're also dealing with another great fighter. So then what would be the difference? Would just be the weight. And I get it. That favors Canelo. And the odds say it favors Canelo's favorite. I think we can see the Vegas odds for that. Let's see. Canelo versus Crawford odds. There you go. Negative 170 to 195. Various sports books. I don't have a problem with that. It is what it is. So, if I was a betting person, which I am at times, but I'm not gonna bet on this fight. I just want to be a fan. I'm going for Crawford on the cards. A fun bet would be 8th or 9th, Crawford winning by KO. But I know people are favoring Canelo to win, and I can understand that. If Canelo finds a home for that left hook, or if Crawford cannot stand that power and it wears over Canelo, yeah, it's gonna be a long night or a short night for Crawford. Another thing to note is their referee isn't a fan of much clinching. So it's going to be interesting to see how much Crawford will be able to engage in that clinch and for how long before ref might start saying like warning Crawford, and he may not be able to use that as a tool to frustrate Canelo, which again works for Canelo and could be disadvantageous for Crawford, but we'll see how it works. We'll see. I think it'll be a hell of a fight. I do think if Crawford wins, they may run it back. If Canelo wins, I don't know if they'll run it back. So yeah, I would love to hear y'all takes, guys. Please get at me. Let me know what y'all think. I think it's gonna be a fight for the ages. These guys are both seem like they want it, and yeah, I mean this is history in the making for both fighters, right? Canelo gets to add another scalp, a huge scalp on his, and Crawford's not only going for history, but will basically take down the guy on top of the mountain. So, what are y'all takes? Comments, post, questions, let me know. Again, I'll be there in Vegas on Thursday to Sunday. If y'all want to hang out, let me know. Reach me at Kosher FTESWL on Twitter, on TikTok, From the East Side with Love on IG, and From the East Side with Love 562 on YouTube. Everybody stay blessed, stay positive. We out. Peace.